Commander Junho Lee stood frozen on the bridge of the EFS Hyperion, staring at the holographic display. The energy readings from the lunar surface defied explanation. "Run the scan again," he ordered. Lieutenant Haewon Park shook her head. "Sir, I've run it 3 times. Something is powering up inside the moon." The bridge fell silent. Only the soft beeping of the sensors filled the room. Junho ran his hand through his short black hair, his mind racing. The Hyperion was just a research vessel, sent to study unusual radiation patterns. They weren't equipped for whatever this was. "Show me the exact location," he said. Haewon's fingers flew across her console. The holographic moon rotated, then zoomed in on the far side, the part humans never saw from Earth. A pulsing red dot appeared in the center of a crater. "It started 30 minutes ago," she explained. "Energy readings are increasing by 20% every 5 minutes. Communications Officer Jin Woo-yoon turned in his chair. "Sir, we're getting reports from the Mars outpost. They're detecting similar energy spikes." Junho's stomach tightened. "Just Mars?" "No," Jin-woo said, his eyes widening as new reports flooded his screen. "Europa. Titan. Even the research station near Pluto was reporting the same thing. All happening at exactly the same time." The science officer, Dr. Min-ki Kong, was analyzing the data with shaking hands. "This is impossible. The patterns are identical at each location. It's as if something is waking up across the entire solar system." Outside the ship's viewport, the lunar surface began to shift. Dust clouds rose as sections of the gray landscape slid apart. The crew gasped as a massive metallic structure emerged from beneath the regolith, rising hundreds of meters into the airless sky. "What is that?" Haewon whispered. Dr. Kong studied his readings. "It appears to be some kind of weapons platform. But the technology, it's not like anything we've ever developed." Similar reports came in from the other locations. On Mars, a gigantic shield generator had risen from the red sands. On Europa, something that looked like a communication array had broken through the ice. Near Pluto, a massive sensor array unfurled like a metal flower. "The energy signatures are stabilizing," Haewon reported. "Whatever these things are, they seem to be fully activated now." Captain Junho made a decision. "Take us closer to the lunar structure. Maintain safe distance but get better scans." As the Hyperion approached, the lunar structure began to glow with blue light. Strange patterns ran across its surface like flowing water. "Sir!" Jin-woo called out. "We're receiving a transmission." "From Earth Command?" "No, sir. It's coming from the structure itself." The main view screen flickered. The bridge crew held their breath as an image formed, not an alien face as some had feared, but a simple text message in ancient Korean. Beneath it, the same message appeared in 50 other Earth languages. Dr. Kong read it aloud, "When the stars bring danger, we will defend our children." "What does that mean?" Haewon asked. Before anyone could answer, the ship's sensors blared an alarm. Jin-woo checked his console, his face pale. "Captain, we're detecting multiple objects entering the solar system. Large ships, moving at incredible speed." Junho's blood ran cold. "Are they ours?" "No, sir. Nothing like our designs. And they're not broadcasting any recognition codes." The lunar structure's glow intensified. Similar reports came from the other structures across the solar system. They were all activating further, responding to the approaching vessels. Dr. Kong looked up from his analysis. "Captain, I think I understand now. These aren't weapons we built. They're much older, perhaps tens of thousands of years old." "That's impossible," Junho said. "Human civilization isn't that old." "Maybe not the civilization we know," Dr. Kong replied. "But what if there was an earlier human age? What if our ancestors once reached the stars, then fell back to Earth?" The approaching ships slowed as they reached the outer solar system. Their formation suggested military precision. The lunar structure suddenly projected a new message above the ship: Defense Grid Alpha now online. Threat assessment initiated. Junho understood at that moment. They built this system to protect us. Our ancestors knew someone would come eventually. The defense grid hummed with power across the solar system, ready to meet the visitors, whoever or whatever they might be. Ambassador Tae-woo Kim straightened his formal uniform as the Mazari delegation approached. Their tall, angular forms moved with unsettling grace. The meeting room on the International Space Station had been specially modified for this historic event. Flags from all Earth nations lined the walls. The air felt thick with tension. Tae-woo had practiced for this moment for weeks. First contact with an alien species. The most important diplomatic mission in human history. Behind him stood Commander Junho Lee, representing Earth's military, and Dr. Ji Young Baek, their xenolinguistics expert. The three Mazari entered with fluid steps. Their skin was pale blue with faint patterns that seemed to shift in the light. Each stood nearly 7 feet tall with 4 long arms and eyes that shimmered like black opals. The leader stepped forward. A small device on his chest glowed as he spoke, his words translated instantly. I am Supreme Envoy Kraz. We come with peaceful intentions. The Mazari Concordat wishes to establish relations with your world. Tae-woo bowed slightly. Earth welcomes you, Supreme Envoy. We are honored by your visit and look forward to learning about your civilization. The formal exchanges continued. The Mazari asked polite questions about Earth's governments, resources, and technology. They spoke of trade possibilities and cultural exchange. Everything seemed to be going well. But in a small monitoring room adjacent to the meeting chamber, alarm was growing. Dr. Beck had excused herself 20 minutes into the meeting. Now she sat before a bank of screens, her face pale as she studied the data. The Mazari ships in orbit were broadcasting continuously. Their translator devices were sending much more data than required for simple language conversion. She activated her secure link to Commander Lee's earpiece. They're scanning our defenses, she whispered. I've broken part of their code. They're calling us primitive extraction candidates. In the meeting room, Commander Lee's expression remained neutral, but his hand tightened on the back of Tae-woo's chair. Supreme Envoy Kraz was discussing the Mazari fleet's need to establish a temporary base on Mars. A simple outpost for scientific purposes, he explained smoothly. Tae-woo noted how the alien's secondary arms kept moving slightly, manipulating something unseen beneath his robes. That would require further discussion, Tae-woo replied carefully. Mars houses sensitive research facilities. Kraz's eyes narrowed slightly. Perhaps then your moon? Surely your limited presence there could accommodate our needs. The word limited hung in the air. At that moment, alarms blared throughout the station. The lights flickered. Sir, a voice came over the intercom, the lunar defense system is activating. On the main screen, they watched as a brilliant beam of energy shot from the lunar surface. It sliced through space with impossible precision, stopping just meters from the lead Mazari ship, a perfect warning shot. The Mazari delegation's reaction was immediate. All pretense of friendliness vanished from their postures. Kraz's upper arms emerged from his robes, revealing what looked like control devices. You have concealed your true capabilities, he hissed, the translator struggling to convey his tone. This deception will be reported. We concealed nothing, Commander Lee said firmly. That system activated on its own. Just as it did when your ships first entered our system. Impossible, the second Mazari said. A defense grid of that complexity requires direct control. Tae-woo stepped forward, maintaining diplomatic calm despite his racing heart. Supreme Envoy, perhaps we should be honest with each other. Our ancient defense system seems to have identified your ships as a threat. And Dr. Beck has translated some interesting terms from your private communications. Primitive extraction candidates sounds rather concerning. The tension in the room became electric. The Mazari exchanged glances. A misunderstanding, Kraz said finally. Military terminology can be easily misconstrued. On the screen, the lunar defense platform adjusted its aim slightly as one of the Mazari ships attempted to change position. "I suggest," Commander Lee said, "that we continue these talks with all ships maintaining their current positions. Any sudden movements might be misinterpreted by our ancient system." Kraw's eyes flashed. "You claim you cannot control these weapons?" "We're still learning about them," Tae-woo admitted. "They were built by our ancestors long ago. But they seem quite determined to protect us." The second Mazari whispered something to Kraz in their native language. "Very well," the Supreme Envoy said finally. "We will continue discussions under these unusual circumstances. But the Concordat does not appreciate being threatened." "Neither," Tae-woo replied with a thin smile, "do we?" Outside, in the darkness of space, the ancient defense grid remained vigilant, its weapons locked on the visitors who had traveled so far with hidden intentions. Dr. Su-Min Kong hadn't slept properly in days. Her temporary lab inside the lunar facility hummed with activity as researchers from a dozen countries worked to understand the ancient technology. "Pass me that scanner," she said to her assistant, Junho, who quickly handed her the device. The walls around them were covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. The metal itself had properties unlike any known alloy, self-repairing and responding to certain frequencies. General Han and 3 other military leaders stood nearby, watching impatiently. "What have you found?" General Han finally asked. Su-Min looked up from her work. Her eyes were tired but bright with excitement. "These systems weren't built by our recent ancestors," she explained, pointing to the dating results on her tablet. "They're at least 50,000 years old. The carbon dating and decay patterns confirm it." The general frowned. "That's impossible. Human civilization is only about 10,000 years old." "The civilization we know about," Su-Min corrected. "But this technology tells a different story. Humanity once ruled the stars before some catastrophe forced us back to Earth." She led them to a large circular chamber they had discovered the previous day. In the center stood a holographic display showing hundreds of star systems. "We've managed to activate parts of their database. Look at this." She touched a control panel, and the stars rearranged to show a vast network of connected worlds. Tiny symbols indicated different types of installations. Each of these points was a human colony or outpost. The network stretched across nearly a quarter of the galaxy. The military leaders stared in silence. Finally, Admiral Yoon spoke. "What happened to them?" "To us?" Su-Min pointed to a section of stars marked with warning symbols. "We're not entirely sure yet, but this area seems to have been the origin of some conflict. The database keeps referring to something called the Sundering." Back on Earth, in the United Nations Emergency Council meeting, Ambassador Tae-woo Kim presented the latest diplomatic developments. "News of Earth's formidable defenses has spread across interstellar networks," he reported. "The Mazari have withdrawn to the edge of our system but are still observing us. More concerning is that ships from at least 11 other species have appeared at the outer boundaries." The room filled with worried murmurs. "Are they hostile?" asked the Secretary General. "They're keeping their distance," Tae-woo explained. "Observing, not approaching. Some appear to be diplomatic vessels, others scientific. None have made aggressive moves." A communications officer hurried into the room and handed Tae-woo a tablet. His eyes widened as he read the message. "We've just received a transmission from a coalition calling itself the Tellurian Alliance. It was sent directly to our defense grid, which then relayed it to us." He read aloud, "To the inheritors of Earth, we remember the human dominion. We thought you extinct. Your return changes everything. The Alliance extends greetings to our ancient friends." The council room erupted in voices. The Secretary General called for order. "What is this Tellurian Alliance?" she demanded. "We don't know yet," Tae-woo admitted. "But they clearly know more about our past than we do." 3 days later, Dr. Su-Min made another breakthrough. Her team had accessed more of the ancient database and activated additional systems. She called an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. The grid isn't just weapons, she reported, as holographic displays showed the expanding network. It's a vast system designed to shield worlds across multiple star systems. We've managed to decode its primary directives. She displayed a translation on the main screen. 1. Protect human worlds from external threats. 2. Preserve human civilization in the event of collapse. 3. Await the return of awareness. We believe return of awareness refers to humans rediscovering the technology, Suman explained. The system was designed to remain dormant until needed, then to slowly guide us back to our former capabilities. And the Mazari triggered it, asked Defense Minister Park. Yes. The grid identified their approach as matching threat parameters from its database. They share characteristics with a species our ancestors apparently had conflict with. General Han leaned forward. How powerful is this grid exactly? Sumin hesitated. Based on our calculations, even the small portion that's activated in our solar system could destroy a fleet many times the size of what the Mazari brought. And we've found evidence that similar grids exist around other former human worlds. So we're sitting on the most powerful weapons system in this part of the galaxy, the Secretary General said slowly. No wonder everyone's watching us. It's more than weapons, Suman emphasized. It's our heritage. A message from our ancestors saying they believed in our future enough to build this for us. Outside the meeting room, newsfeeds showed the strange ships at the edge of the solar system. Humanity had thought itself alone in the universe just weeks ago. Now they were center stage in a galactic drama they were only beginning to understand. The alarm sounded throughout the EFS Prometheus as sensors detected the incoming fleet. Commander Junho Lee rushed to the bridge, officers moving quickly to their stations around him. Report, he ordered. Lieutenant De Youngo looked up from his console, face pale. Sir, we're detecting over 50 vessels entering the system. Multiple species signatures, but the Mazari vessels are leading the formation. The Prometheus was humanity's first hybrid vessel, built in record time by combining Earth's most advanced technology with systems recovered from the ancient defense grid. It hummed with power that even its crew didn't fully understand. Put it on screen, Lee commanded. The main display showed the approaching armada. Ships of various designs moved in perfect coordination, their weapons systems clearly visible even at this distance. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Communications Officer Mi Young Jang reported. The message is being transmitted in 37 languages, including English and Korean. Let's hear it, Lee said. A harsh voice filled the bridge. Attention Earth forces. This is Supreme War Leader Kraz of the Mazari Concordat, speaking for the coalition of concerned species. Your activation of forbidden technology threatens the stability of this sector. Your ultimatum is simple: surrender the defense technology for proper containment, or face obliteration. You have 1 Earth hour to comply. The bridge fell silent. Earth's colonies on Mars and the Moon had only basic defenses. The billions of people on Earth itself had no place to evacuate. Sir, Tactical Officer Sungho Park said quietly, even with the Prometheus, we can't match that kind of firepower. Lee's hand tightened on the back of his chair. Get me Earth Command. The screen split to show the tense faces of Earth's United Defense Council. We've received the same message, General Yu said. Our conventional forces are mobilizing, but against that fleet. She didn't need to finish the sentence. What about the defense grid? Lee asked. Dr. Suman Kong appeared on the screen. We've been working to fully activate it, but we've only managed to interface with about 30% of its systems. It may be enough, said a new voice. Dr. Hyunwoo Choi, the brilliant physicist who had developed the first working interface with the grid's AI, stepped into view. His right arm now bore an implant that connected him directly to the ancient system. Commander Lee, he said, the grid is more powerful than we realized. It's been waiting. Waiting for what? Lee asked. For this moment. For a threat serious enough to justify full activation. Dr. Choi's eyes gleamed with excitement despite the danger. Permission to come aboard the Prometheus? 40 minutes later, Dr. Choi stood on the bridge beside Commander Lee. Through the viewports, they could see the coalition fleet approaching, now close enough to make out details of the massive ships. 10 minutes to their deadline, Lieutenant O reported. Dr. Choi placed his augmented hand on a newly installed panel. His eyes closed in concentration. Initiating full grid awakening, he whispered. Throughout the solar system, the ancient technology responded. On Earth, people looked up in awe as the sky seemed to ripple. A translucent energy shield began forming, starting at strategic points and spreading until it encased the entire planet. Similar shields appeared around the Moon, Mars, and every human outpost. Weapon platforms that had been dormant activated fully, moving into defensive positions. The grid is at 100%, Dr. Choi reported, his voice distant as his mind interfaced directly with the system. All weapons locked on hostile vessels. This is Commander Lee to Coalition Fleet, Lee broadcast. Earth declines your ultimatum. We recommend you withdraw immediately. The response was immediate. This is your final warning, came the Mazari transmission. Your primitive species cannot hope to control such power. You will destroy yourselves and others. Surrender now or be eliminated for the safety of all. The coalition ships began spreading out into attack formation. Dr. Choi's eyes snapped open. We don't need to fire, he whispered to Lee. Show them what we can do. Lee hesitated only briefly. What do you suggest? A demonstration. The grid can do more than just destroy. Lee nodded. Do it. Dr. Choi's implant glowed as he communicated his command. Far ahead of the approaching fleet, space itself began to distort. Light bent around a point that grew darker until it was a perfect black sphere. A controlled singularity, Dr. Choi explained. A miniature black hole, contained within a precisely calculated energy field. The coalition fleet stopped advancing as their sensors detected the impossible phenomenon. The singularity pulsed once, generating a gravitational wave that washed harmlessly over the alien ships but demonstrated its power. Then, just as suddenly, the singularity collapsed in on itself and vanished, leaving normal space behind. Message sent, Lee said quietly. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the coalition vessels began turning away from Earth. Their formation broke as ships from different species chose different escape vectors. They're withdrawing, Lieutenant O confirmed, disbelief in his voice. The bridge crew erupted in cheers. On Earth and the colonies, people watched their sensors in stunned relief as the enemy fled. Dr. Choi sank into a chair, exhausted from the neural link. They know now, he said. The grid could have done much worse. Lee nodded slowly. But the question remains, should we control this much power? And how will the rest of the galaxy respond now? 1 year later, Commander Junho Lee stood on the bridge of the EFS Prometheus, humanity's first true starship in millennia. The ship hummed with a blend of Earth's modern technology and the ancient systems they had spent months understanding. The crew moved with purpose around him, their faces showing both excitement and nervousness. Through the main viewport, Earth grew smaller by the minute. They had left orbit 10 minutes ago and were preparing for something no human in recorded history had attempted. Course plotted for the Centauri system, announced Lieutenant Youngmi Ryu, her fingers dancing across her navigation console. Archives indicated dormant defense node there. Lee nodded, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. Time to jump capability? 5 minutes, sir, replied Engineer Jiho Kwan. The ancient drive is synchronized with our systems. Power levels optimal. The past year had transformed humanity's place in the galaxy. After the confrontation with the coalition fleet, Earth had received diplomatic missions from dozens of species. Some came with threats, others with offers of alliance or trade. Earth's leaders had chosen carefully, forming bonds with moderate civilizations that respected their right to exist. The Artaxian representative, Talix, stood quietly at the side of the bridge. The tall, slender alien with iridescent scales and 4 arms was there as an observer, the first non-human allowed on an Earth vessel. The Artaxians had been among the first to offer genuine friendship after the defense grid activated. Your people continue to surprise us, Talix said to Lee. Most young species take centuries to attempt interstellar travel. Lee smiled. We're not as young as we appear. Dr. Minho Song, head of the Ancient Technology Commission, joined them on the bridge. His eyes showed the fatigue of endless work, but also deep satisfaction. Final reports from Earth are in, he told Lee, handing him a tablet. The defense grid is stable and fully under our control. The lunar facility is now operating at full capacity, producing more interface components. Lee scrolled through the report. And the other sites? We've identified 17 former colony worlds with dormant defense grids, Minho explained, calling up a star map. Once reactivated, they'll create a protected zone spanning 3 spiral arms. The map showed a vast section of the galaxy with Earth near one edge. Dots of light represented the ancient human worlds waiting to be rediscovered. So much history we've forgotten, Lee murmured. Not forgotten, Minho corrected. Just waiting for us to remember. The bridge doors opened, and Dr. Hyun-Woo Choi entered. His neural implant had evolved, now a sleek device that curved elegantly around his ear and temple. As the only human who could fully interface with the ancient AI, he had become essential to the mission. The jump drive is ready, he announced. The grid has provided final calculations. Lee turned to face his crew. Human faces looked back at him with anticipation. They represented the best of Earth scientists, soldiers, explorers. Each had trained intensively for this mission to reclaim humanity's heritage among the stars. This jump will take us farther than any human has traveled in 50,000 years, Lee said. When we reach Alpha Centauri, we'll be the first to return to what was once a thriving human colony. Young Mi's console chimed. Jump coordinates locked, sir. Defensive systems active, added Security Chief Dongmin Park. Though the archives indicate this system should be uninhabited. Lee glanced at Talix. The Artaxian gave a small nod of encouragement. The galaxy has waited long for humans to return, Talix said. Many old stories speak of your kind. Some with fear, yes, but others with respect. The Artaxian archives tell of humans who once helped save our ancestors from extinction. Dr. Minho smiled. Perhaps we'll find records of that when we reactivate the Centauri grid. The final countdown began. Through the viewport, the stars seemed to brighten in anticipation. Lee thought about the long journey that had brought humanity to this moment. From the shock of first contact to the discovery of their forgotten legacy, from threatened destruction to newfound respect among the stars. The ancient defense grid had not just protected humanity, it had given them a voice in galactic affairs. A second chance to join the cosmic community not as newcomers, but as returning elders. He looked around at the diverse crew of humans and their new alien allies working together. This was how it should be. Engage drive, Lee ordered, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The stars stretched before them, then flashed into streaks of light as the Prometheus made its jump, carrying humanity back to the stars they had once called home.